more interesting things I think about the DLC is the contrast to the game proper. Whereas here in the DLC, you get to see all that this iteration of the platforming is capable of.
Yeah.
It really it shines there. It disregards two of the powers. It adds a brand new one, which honestly is my favorite.
Yeah, it's like a time trial thing, basically. Like, actual platforms will spawn into the world.
Yeah, they're like magically spawning platforms, but what I think is the best thing about them is that unlike the rest of the platforming in the game, where you can look at it and sort of assess the battlefield and know what you're going to do, all of this is on the fly and requires mastery of the system.
Because it won't all spawn at once. It'll, like, this portion will spawn.
Some things will spawn mid-jump. Like, literally
as you are jumping, you just have to, like, go, well, I hope it's going to show up.
Yeah.
Like, you kind of see the sparkles a little bit,
and
maybe.
It requires a mastery of the system. As rudimentary as it is, it still requires a mastery to get through.
It has no flying sections. They figured out that was terrible. They just ripped out all the flying sections.
It's got the two jumpy ones. No, it's got all three of them.
No, it's got everything but the yellow.
That's right. Yeah,
everything but the yellow.
So this is replacing the yellow. That's great.
Yeah.
The running one has some better sections in there.
The puzzles are better. Like,
the puzzles they're huge platforming puzzles.
Yeah, which is great because all the puzzles in the base game have nothing to do with platforming.
Yeah, they're like generic puzzles, like fill this pool all the way up, but all these other 6 pools only fill a very particular way.
Yeah,
that's the worst one.
I don't know. I really, like, just from the tedium, not the difficulty, the tedium of the one with at the windmill, where you have to. I didn't actually finish the game. I didn't say that. I didn't finish the game on this run. I did. He's played it twice before.
I have, and then I went back and played the ending and DLC again, because we weren't planning on playing the DLC until halfway through the week, and I was like, okay, fine. So I'm gonna forget these 2 sections. I'll go finish the end of the game. So I loaded up my save on PS3 and then played it. Which, when we're talking about this, you'll see if you're watching a noticeable drop in quality of the B-roll. That's because the ending and the DLC were captured on PS3 rather than PC. But I didn't do all of that, the windmill stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty tedious. And basically there are these, like, all the puzzles have this little mechanism you have to rotate. It's like a little lever, and Elika has to be with you.
I did do those.
Yeah, and
those are bad.
And basically, like, you have to push first of all, like, in order to keep turning, you have to keep holding it the same way. You can't, like, it's not classic rotation.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you have to keep holding it the same way, and you have to wait for Elika to come and grab it for you. And sometimes she will not. She will stand over there and wait, and she will have to teleport spawn, like the game goes, okay, this is not working, and, like, has to just teleport her over to you. And it takes, like, 3 full seconds. And you have to turn these things, like, 50 times.
Yeah, so the best example of this, and it might get more complicated, but the easy example, there are 4 pillars, each with a number of platforms coming out of them that you can jump off of and run on, but it might have one on each side, all 4 sides, or it might just have one. But these levers that you're turning, these handles you're turning, turn 2 of these large pillars in whatever combination. So you have to, turn one, get it lined up, jump to another, turn that, thinking about the next 2 that you have to turn, and get them all lined up so you can finally run across them in the circle and get to the other side.
It's pretty terrible.
The puzzles in the DLC are
much better.
You're moving entire sections of the level, and really there's one spot that it does this
really well.
Very well. You're moving, there's 3 entirely new paths to go through, or 4 maybe.
Yeah,
in this
4. There's
one
a
room.
hidden one, you can do 4.
And you're moving huge chunks of the
It's 2
level.
Basically it's 2 big blocks that are platformable, and you are moving them closer or further, and you're moving a pole either diagonally or perfectly straight on, depending on how you want to jump onto those platforms. And depending on how far away you move them or how close you move them, it basically becomes an entirely new platforming section and leads to an entirely different part of the map. Yeah. And you're having to figure out, how do I get to the spot I need to get to? And it's well telegraphed. You figure out what's going on very quickly. And the platforming is integrated into the puzzle. Like, They had it. That was it.
It isn't so much of a puzzle that you really have to think about it. It's really like, okay, I see this is a slightly different path. I'll do this one now, then I'll do the other one.
Yeah, it's very well telegraphed.
It's not a brain teaser sort of puzzle like the pools we were just talking about or the pillars.
But it fits the game so much better.
It does, and I think, I could be very wrong, but I think they did some of that in Sands of Time. Which we're not going to fill the extra slot I mentioned in the beginning with Sands of Time. We are going to wait till the remake comes out, I think in February. I've played that a few times as well. Another one of my favorite.
Wow.
Yeah. yeah, I have. And he has not played it.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to share that one as well and experience the remake with the rest of you. But I think they did some of that in the original, and I remember it working very well, so I don't know why.
I've heard very good things about the platforming and the puzzles in Sand of Time, so I'm excited to play it. All that to say, the epilogue typically does things really well. But the combat?
Yeah, this is... Oh, I didn't finish the thought.
It is the same two bosses breaking up your progress every single time. There's no variation. The arena changes. Who cares? Like, there's no variation.
And the arena only changes twice. So it's like just a regular arena. You can throw them off on either side, or one with just one small opening that you have to throw them through. But it's the king again. So Elika's dad that you fought at the end of the first game, and then two bosses that share like one body. You have to bring one of them to the end, and then it will transform into the other boss. But it's the same two. They don't shuffle that mixture of the four bosses from the original game.
Those two every time. Soldier and the hunter.
They're
every
the two
time
that they seem to like the most. All the marketing was based on those two, especially the hunter. A lot of the marketing was on the hunter, but the hunter and the warrior were the two from the marketing. I wonder if they had the most polish. I don't remember.
The Alchemist was cool.
I think the hunter's my favorite. It lets the combat shine a little more. I think it's a little more
aggressive.
He's aggressive.
Be more aggressive. Yeah.
So I liked him, but you're doing that same thing over and over and over again, and it's really just tired.
And I mean, not like 3 or 4 times. I mean, like 10 plus times.
Yeah, it's exhausting, and that's I didn't finish this thought from earlier. That's one of the things that's so interesting about the DLC to me. You get to see what this iteration of the platforming is capable of, but also see just how bad the combat actually is. And again, I think the foundation is great, but it was in the base game just enough to not feel like it really overstayed its welcome. By the second time you did the thing in the DLC, it overstayed its welcome.
So, all that to say, you should play the DLC anyway. That the platforming is very so good. It's so good.
I do wish, this is a nitpick here.
Do it.
But the game proper is gorgeous. I love the two open environments with the soldier and the alchemist.
Even the hub, just this really Shadow of the Colossus-y open expanse with these odd structures that at the time you don't understand what they're for, and it's a long walk.
A very long walk.
And I like it.
It's great. It's the same environment. I think they might shift it slightly just once about halfway through. They introduced some trees, but it's still like this huge underground cavern. They could have shaken that up a bit.
You're talking about the DLC.
Yeah, the DLC is for all intents and purposes the same kind of dreary environment for the 2 hours.
Classic underground tomb.
Yeah, you can really finish it in one setting.
Yeah, and you should. I'd argue.
Yeah,
I think it's meant to be.
If you break that and then come back to it, you might not want to finish it.
Yeah.
I recommend if you do play it, just one sitting.
So the next thing that